Hey everyone, welcome to the Sound Museum here on YouTube. Massive thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so just by clicking on the button down below. But this week I thought I'd pop on really quickly and talk about this album, Mariah Carey's Emotions. We are celebrating this album this week on the Sound Museum podcast. If you haven't checked out this week's episode, make sure you do on your favorite podcast provider, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon. It's all on there. And a massive thank you to everyone who has listened to the podcast, because it is one of my highest downloaded podcasts since the podcast began in January. So thank you so much to everyone for listening to the Emotions podcast episode. And so this is my Mariah Emotions collection. So obviously Emotions came out in 1991, which was the height of the CD. So this is my original copy of Emotions on CD, and I'll just do a bit of an unboxing here. But this is the original CD. Those of you who stream music these days probably won't have seen this in a CD, but this is a CD version of Emotions from back in 1991. And just to prove, I do have the CD. There it is, the CD. And this is obviously the back cover as well. So with Emotions, it's one of my favorite albums from Mariah because I was in school at the time, and I remember her first album was everywhere. Vision of Love, Love Takes Time, Someday. So I really loved that original album, and I got that on CD as well. But with Emotions, with this one, I really, I was a fan of Mariah before then, but when I heard this, I was a massive fan. So it sort of took my fandom up a notch with Emotions. So I was really pleased that Mariah released such a fantastic album. Obviously the lead single Emotions I absolutely love, one of my favorites. And back in the day I did get the CD single of Emotions, which is there, very similar to the cover, just more of a close-up shot, and that's the back. It's only a 2-track single. This is the Australian CD single. So no remixes, just that's a CD there. So this is like a 2-track single I got back in the day. But when she released, I don't have this second single, which is Can't Let Go. I did have that. I did actually have the 1-track promo of Can't Let Go, but I sold it back in the day when I needed some extra cash. So moral of the story is, guys, if you do have old CDs or vinyl or cassettes, don't sell them. I sold a lot of my vinyl in the late 90s before I moved here to Australia because I needed the funds and I couldn't take all that vinyl with me from New Zealand to Australia due to space and stuff. So, but I really regret that move, getting rid of my vinyl and my cassettes back in the day. Anyway, can't be helped, but I did get the third single, which is Make It Happen, and this is again the Australian 2-track. It's got the Make It Happen single, the edit, and also the Emotions special motion edit as well, which is like a remix from Chivillis and Cole, CNC Music Factory. And there is the original CD. There you go, of Make It Happen. And yes, I get another great single from Mariah. I love the Emotions special motion remix. Love the intro to that, which you can hear on this week's podcast at the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, really love this album. Love Emotions. I did put a poll on social media this afternoon to check out what your favorite single from Emotions is. So make sure you vote for that on Twitter and Instagram, Sound Museum AU. But actually on the album, there's quite a few tracks on here which I love, which weren't singles, like and I Don't Remember, which is a great ballad from the album. Another gorgeous ballad called The Wind, which is the final track on the album. A gorgeous jazz song, just stunning. And I think if this album done better, I think the direction for Music Box would have been very different, because Music Box was quite commercial. I think if this album did better, I think we would have maybe a different career for Mariah. I don't know, but I love this album. The Wind is another great track. To the End of Time, So Blessed. This album is very ballad heavy, but the up-tempo tracks are also really good as well, like You're So Cold, which Mariah has admitted she doesn't like anymore, but I love that track, as I said on the podcast. To Be Around You, another great track, up-tempo track from the album. So if you haven't checked out Emotions, do it, because it's a great album. And what I love about Mariah's first three albums, the debut, Emotions, and Music Box, was it was just Mariah. There were no collaborations. There was just Mariah, her voice, front and center, amazing songs, just incredible songs. And I really like that, Mariah. I like that. Not that I don't like her collaborating, I do, but I'm not really a huge rap fan. Coming from Auckland in the 90s, R&B was all over radio, and I love the old school 90s R&B, but I don't like rap. So I've never been into the whole rap thing. Don't know why, I just prefer R&B, love Boyz II Men. So love that collaboration on Daydream. But as far as Mariah goes, I do prefer it when it's just MC, because her voice, when you have a voice like that, you don't need, I guess, can I say hangers-on rappers? I don't know, but I just prefer that she just does her thing by herself, because she doesn't need that. You know, that's just my opinion. But you know, I'm not a young lamb. I'm more of a legacy lamb, which I'm 49, so I was there back in the day when this happened. I was there when the debut came out, so I was a fan from the beginning. And when you first get into an artist, because you're there and you're sort of in that moment, and you are embracing the artist, then the songs, what their performances. I was a really big fan of Mariah back then, and I still am. But back then, I was a huge fan of Mariah because her amazing voice, the gorgeous songs, and all those early songs from the first three albums, even Daydream, I really loved because they were just Mariah. They were, I just prefer that. And I only speak from Australia because I'm based in Melbourne. But when you turn on adult contemporary radio, even radio here now, you would mainly hear tracks from the 90s. So you'd hear tracks from Music Box, Daydream, Emotions. A single gets played all the time. The amount of times I've heard Emotions in the supermarket is crazy. So yeah, I mean, people do prefer, I guess, the old school Mariah in Australia. I don't know, but the latest stuff doesn't really get much traction here. But hence we're celebrating Emotions because it's one of my favorite albums. And if you subscribe to the podcast, you'll see next week we are celebrating Music Box, because Music Box turns 30 and this year, and so I'm celebrating that album next week on the podcast. So make sure you check out the second Mariah podcast episode next week on your favorite podcast provider. But so that's my little rant about Emotions. Love the album. Also with the Emotions album coming out in 1991, she did do a third album EP in 1992, MTV Unplugged, which is a 7-track EP featuring live tracks from Mariah's MTV Unplugged performance. Another awesome EP. This is the original booklet from back in the day. Really love this EP because it was just Mariah, an amazing group of background vocalists, amazing band, those incredible songs live, stripped back, raw. Love this EP. And she does I'll Be There, which is a Jackson 5 cover with Trey Lorenz. She does Make It Happen, Vision of Love, Someday, which again she doesn't really like much anymore. But yeah, so this is another great, I guess, Emotions era EP to check out. So you can get these on streaming, so make sure you stream them. You know, do go back in time and just really embrace that old school Mariah, because this is where she first started and she became really popular. And yeah, enjoy yourself playing Mariah. And this one here is Someday, which is, again, Mariah doesn't like it, but I love it, from her debut album. I found this in a secondhand store years ago in Auckland, actually. And this is a 3-track CD. This is the original single. This is the US pressing of the single, but has 3 remixes of Someday on this one. So this is another rare little gem I've got in my Mariah collection. Don't have the vinyl of the albums at all. I did get vinyl back in the day. I don't really collect vinyl anymore because I've got so many CDs. But yeah, I'm more of a CD person these days. But yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching this little rant about music book, about emotions, I should say. Thank you so much for subscribing to the podcast, and I hope you really enjoy the videos I've got coming up. I will be taking a bit of a break for late August, most of September. I'm going overseas with my fiance, so if you don't see any new videos on YouTube for a few weeks, don't panic. I will be back probably about late September, and back with some more great content for you. But thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoy going back and listening to Emotions again.